The Kaiser. Time for my story about the Kaiser. How he proudly took me with him when he went after the war to trade in the '39 Dodge for a new automobile. New make, new model, new everything. What a perfect way for an American dad to impress his American son. And how the fast-talking salesman acted as though he just couldn't believe his ears. Was simply incredulous each time my father said no to one after another of the 1,000 little accessories the cocksucker wanted to sell us to hang on the car. Well, I'll tell you my opinion for whatever it's worth, says the worthless son of a bitch. She'd look 200% better with the white walls. Don't you think so, young fella? Wouldn't you like your dad to get the white walls at least? At least. Oh, you slimy prick, you turning to me like that to stick it into my old man. You miserable, low-life, thieving son of a bitch. Just who the fuck are you, I wonder, to lord it over us? A goddamn Kaiser Fraser salesman. Where are you now, you intimidating bastard? No white walls, mumbles my humbled father. And I simply shrug my shoulders in embarrassment over his inability to provide me and my family with the beautiful things in life. Anyway, off to work in the radioless, white wall-less Kaiser, there to be led into the office by the cleaning lady. Now, I ask you, why must he be the one to raise the shades in that office in the morning? Why must he work the longest day of any insurance agent in history? For whom? Me? Oh, if that is his reason, then it is all really too fucking tragic to bear. The misunderstanding is too great. For me? Do me a favor, and don't do it for me. Don't please look around for a reason for your life being what it is and come up with Alex. Because I am not the be-all and end-all of everybody's existence. I refuse to schlep those bags around for the rest of my life. Do you hear me? I refuse. Stop finding it incomprehensible that I should be flying to Europe, thousands and thousands of miles away, just when you have turned 66, and are all ready to keel over at any minute, like you read about first thing every morning in the Times. Men his age and younger, they die. 1 minute they're alive, and the next dead, and apparently what he thinks is that if I am only across the Hudson instead of the Atlantic... Listen, what does he think? That with me around, it simply won't happen? That I'll race to his side, take hold of his hand, and thereby restore him to life? Does he actually believe that I somehow have the power to destroy death? That I am the resurrection and the life? My dad? A real, believing Christer? And doesn't even know it? His death. His death in his bowels. The truth is, I'm hardly less preoccupied with either than he is himself. I never get a telegram, never get a phone call after midnight, that I do not feel my own stomach empty out like a wash basin and say aloud, he's dead. Because apparently I believe it too. Believe that I can somehow save him from annihilation, can and must. But where did we all get this ridiculous and absurd idea that I'm so powerful, so precious, so necessary to everybody's survival? What was it with these Jewish parents? Because I'm not in this boat alone. Oh no. I am on the biggest troop ship afloat. Only look in through the portholes and see us there, stacked to the bulkheads in our bunks, moaning and groaning with such pity for ourselves, the sad and watery-eyed sons of Jewish parents, sick to the gills from rolling through these heavy seas of guilt. So I sometimes envision us, me and my fellow whalers, melancholics and wise guys, still in steerage, like our forebears. And sick as dogs, we cry out intermittently, one of us or another, "Papa, how could you? Mama, why did you?" Oh, the stories we tell. As the big ship pitches and rolls, the vying we do. Who had the most castrating mother? Who had the most benighted father? I can match you, you bastard. Humiliation for humiliation, shame for shame. The retching in the toilets after meals, the hysterical deathbed laughter from the bunks, and the tears. Here a puddle wept in contrition, here a puddle from indignation. In the blinking of an eye, the body of a man, with the brain of a boy, rises in impotent rage to flail at the mattress above, only to fall instantly back, lashing itself with reproaches. Ah, my Jewish men friends, my dirty-mouthed, guilt-ridden brethren, my sweethearts, my mates. Will this fucking ship ever stop pitching? When? When? So that we can leave off complaining how sick we are and go out into the air and live. Dr. Spielvogel, it alleviates nothing fixing the blame. Blaming is still ailing, of course. Of course. But nonetheless, what was it with these Jewish parents? What? That they were able to make us little Jewish boys believe ourselves to be princes on the one hand, unique as unicorns on the one hand, geniuses and brilliant like nobody has ever been brilliant and beautiful before in the history of childhood, saviors and sheer perfection on the one hand, and such bumbling, incompetent, thoughtless, helpless, selfish, evil little shits, little ingrates on the other. But in Europe, where? He calls after me as the taxi pulls away from the curb. I don't know where, I call after him, gleefully waving farewell. I am 33 and free at last of my mother and father. For a month. But how will we know your address? Joy, sheer joy. You won't. But what if in the meantime? What if what? I laugh. What if what are you worried about now? What if? And my God, does he really actually shout it out the taxi window? Is his fear, his greed, his need and belief in me so great that he actually shouts these words out into the streets of New York? What if I die? Because that's what I hear, Doctor. The last words I hear before flying off to Europe, and with the monkey, somebody whom I have kept a total secret from them. What if I die? And then off I go for my orgiastic holiday abroad. Now, whether the words I hear are the words spoken is something else again. And whether what I hear out of compassion for him, out of my agony over the inevitability of this horrific occurrence, his death, or out of my eager anticipation of that event is also something else again. But this, of course, you understand, this, of course, is your bread and your butter. I was saying that the detail of Ronald Nimkin's suicide that most appeals to me is the note to his mother found pinned to that roomy straitjacket, his nice, stiffly laundered sports shirt. Know what it said? Guess. The last message from Ronald to his mama. Guess. Mrs. Blumenthal called. Please bring your mahjong rules to the game tonight. Ronald. Now, how's that for good to the last drop? How's that for a good boy, a thoughtful boy, a kind and courteous and well-behaved boy, a nice Jewish boy, such as no one will ever have cause to be ashamed of? Say thank you, darling. Say you're welcome, darling. Say you're sorry, Alex. Say you're sorry. Apologize. Yeah, for what? What have I done now? Hey, I'm hiding under my bed, my back to the wall, refusing to say I'm sorry. Refusing to come out and take the consequences. Refusing. And she's after me with a broom, trying to sweep my rotten carcass into the open. Why, shades of Gregor Samsa. Hello, Alex. Goodbye, France. You'd better tell me you're sorry, you. Or else. And I don't mean maybe either. I'm 5, maybe 6, and she is or elsing me, and not meaning maybe, as though the firing squad is already outside, lining the street with newspaper preparatory to my execution. And now comes the father, after a pleasant day of trying to sell life insurance to black people who aren't even exactly sure they're alive, home to a hysterical wife and a metamorphosed child. Because what did I do? Me, the soul of goodness? Incredible. Beyond belief. But either I kicked her in the shins or I bit her. I don't want to sound like I'm boasting, but I do believe it was both. Why? She demands to know, kneeling on the floor to shine a flashlight in my eyes. Why do you do such a thing? Oh, simple. Why did Ronald Nimkin give up his ghost and the piano? Because we can't take any more. Because you fucking Jewish mothers are just too fucking much to bear. I've read Freud on Leonardo, Doctor, and pardon the hubris, but my fantasies exactly. This big, smothering bird beating frantic wings about my face and mouth so that I cannot even get my breath. What do we want, me and Ronald and Leonardo? To be left alone. If only for half an hour at a time. Stop already hocking us to be good, hocking us to be nice. Just leave us alone, goddammit, to pull our little dongs in peace and think our little selfish thoughts. Stop already with the respectabilizing of our hands and our tushies and our mouths. Fuck the vitamins and the cod liver oil. Just give us each day our daily flesh. And forgive us our trespasses, which aren't even trespasses to begin with. A little boy you want to be who kicks his own mother in the shins? My father speaking. And look at his arms, will you? I've never really noticed before the size of the forearms the man's got on him. He may not have white wall tires or a high school education, but he has arms on him that are no joke. And Jesus, is he angry. But why? In part, you schmuck, I kicked her for you. A human bite is worse than a dog bite. Do you know that, you? Get out from under the bed. Do you hear me? What you did to your mother is worse than a dog could do. And so loud is his roar, and so convincing, that my normally placid sister runs to the kitchen, great gruntfuls of fear erupting from her mouth, and in what we now call the fetal position, crouches down between the refrigerator and the wall. Or so I seem to remember it, though it would make sense, I think, to ask how I know what's going on in the kitchen if I'm still hiding beneath my bed. The bite I can live with. The shins I can live with. Her broom still relentlessly trying to poke me out from my cave. But what am I going to do with a child who won't even say he's sorry? Who won't tell his own mother that he's sorry and will never do such a thing again, ever? What are we going to do, Daddy, with such a little boy in our house? Is she kidding? Is she serious? Why doesn't she call the cops and get me shipped off to children's prison if this is how incorrigible I really am? Alexander Portnoy, aged 5, you're hereby sentenced to hang by your neck until you are dead for refusing to say you're sorry to your mother. You think the child lapping up their milk and taking baths with his duck and his boats in their tub was the most wanted criminal in America, when actually what we're playing in that house is some farce version of King Lear with me in the role of Cordelia. On the phone, she's perpetually telling whosoever isn't listening on the other end about her biggest fault being that she's too good. Because surely they're not listening. Surely they are not sitting there nodding and taking down on their telephone pads this kind of transparent, self-serving, insane horseshit that even a preschool-aged child can see through. You know what my biggest fault is, Rose? I hate to say it about myself, but I'm too good. These are actual words, Doctor, tape recorded these many years in my brain. And killing me still. These are the actual messages that these Roses and Sophies and Goldies and Pearls transmit to one another daily. I give my everything to other people, she admits, sighing, and I get kicked in the teeth in return. And my fault is that as many times as I get slapped in the face, I can't stop being good. Oh, shit, Sophie, just try, why don't you? Why don't we all try? Because to be bad, Mother, that is the real struggle. To be bad and to enjoy it. That is what makes men of us boys, Mother. But what my conscience, so-called, has done to my sexuality, my spontaneity, my courage, never mind some of the things I tried so hard to get away with, because the fact remains, I don't. I am marked like a road map from head to toe with my repressions. You can travel the length and breadth of my body over superhighways of shame and inhibition and fear. See, I am too good too, Mother. I, too, am moral to the bursting point, just like you. Did you ever see me trying to smoke a cigarette? I look like Betty Davis. Today, boys and girls not even old enough to be bar mitzvahed are sucking on marijuana like it's peppermint candy, and I'm still all thumbs with a lucky strike. Yes, that's how good I am, Mama. Can't smoke, hardly drink, no drugs, don't borrow money or play cards, can't tell a lie without beginning to sweat as though I'm passing over the equator. Sure, I say fuck a lot, but I assure you That's about the sum of my success with transgressing. Look what I've done with the monkey. Given her up. Run from her in fear. The girl whose cunt I've been dreaming about lapping all my life. Why is a little turbulence so beyond my means? Why must the least deviation from respectable conventions cause me such inner hell? But I hate those fucking conventions when I know better than the taboos. Doctor, my doctor, what do you say? Let's put the id back in yid. Liberate this nice Jewish boy's libido, will you please? Raise the prices if you have to. I'll pay anything. Only enough cowering in the face of the deep, dark pleasures. Ma, what was it you wanted to turn me into anyway? A walking zombie like Ronald Nimkin? Where do you get the idea that the most wonderful thing I could be in life was obedient, a little gentleman? Of all the aspirations for a creature of lusts and desires. Alex, you say as we leave the Weequake diner, and don't get me wrong, I eat it up. Praise is praise, and I take it however it comes. Alex, you say to me, all dressed up in my clip-on tie and my two-tone loafer jacket, the way you cut your meat, the way you ate that baked potato without spilling, I could kiss you. I never saw such a little gentleman with his little napkin in his lap like that. Fruitcake, Mother. Little fruitcake is what you saw, and exactly what the training program was designed to produce. Of course. The mystery really isn't that I'm not dead like Ronald Nimkin, but that I'm not like all the nice young men I see strolling hand in hand in Bloomingdale's on Saturday mornings. Mother, the beach at Fire Island is strewn with the bodies of nice Jewish boys in bikinis and bande de soleil, also little gentlemen in restaurants, I'm sure, also who helped mommy set up mahjong tiles when the ladies came on Monday night to play. Christ almighty, after all those years of setting up those tiles, 1 bam, 2 crack, mahjong, how I made it into the world of pussy at all, that's the mystery. I close my eyes, and it's not so awfully hard. I see myself sharing a house at Ocean Beach with somebody in eye makeup named Sheldon. Oh, fuck you, Shelley. They're your friends. You make the garlic bread. Mother, your little gentlemen are all grown up now, and there on lavender beach towels they lie, in all their furious narcissism. And, oi, Gott, one is calling out to me. Alex, Alexander the King, baby, did you see where I put my tarragon? There he is, Ma, your little gentleman kissing someone named Sheldon on the lips because of his herb dressing. Do you know what I read in Cosmopolitan, says my mother to my father? That there are women who are homosexual persons. Come on, grumbles Papa Bear. What kind of garbage is that? What kind of crap is that? Jack, please. I'm not making it up. I read it in Cosmo. I'll show you the article. Come on, they print that stuff for the circulation. Mama, Papa, there's worse even than that. There are people who fuck chickens. There are men who screw stiffs. You simply cannot imagine how some people will respond to having served 15 and 20-year sentences as some crazy bastard's idea of good. So, if I kicked in the shins, Mama, if I sunk my teeth into your wrist clear through to the bone, count your blessings. For had I kept it all inside me, believe me, you too might have arrived home to find a pimply adolescent corpse swinging over the bathtub by his father's belt. Worse yet, this last summer, instead of sitting shiver over a son running off to faraway Europe, you might have found yourself dining out on my deck on Fire Island. The two of you, me, and Sheldon. And if you remember what that Goyish lobster did to your kishkas, imagine what it would have been like trying to keep down Shelley's sauce bernaise. So, there. What a pantomime I had to perform to get my Zeeland windbreaker off my back and into my lap so as to cover my joint that night I bared it to the elements. All for the benefit of the driver, within whose Polak power it lay merely to flip on the overhead lights and thus destroy in a single moment 15 years of neat notebooks and good grades and teeth cleaning twice a day and never eating a piece of fruit without thoroughly washing it beforehand. Is it hot in here? Whew. Is it hot? Boy, oh boy, I guess I just better get this jacket off and put it right down here in a neat little pile in my lap. Only what am I doing? A Polack's day, my father has suggested to me, isn't complete until he's dragged his big, dumb feet across the bones of a Jew. Why am I taking this chance in front of my worst enemy? What will become of me if I'm caught? Half the length of the tunnel it takes me to unzip my zipper silently. And there it is again. Up it pops again, as always, swollen, bursting with demands, like some idiot macrocephalic making his parents' life a misery with his simpleton's insatiable needs. Jerk me off, I'm told by the silky monster. Here. Now? Of course, here and now. When would you expect an opportunity like this to present itself a second time? Don't you know what that girl is who's asleep beside you? Just look at that nose. What nose? That's the point. It's hardly even there. Look at that hair, like off a spinning wheel. Remember flax that you studied in school? That's human flax. Schmuck. This is the real McCoy. Shiksa. And asleep. Or maybe she's just faking it is a strong possibility too. Faking it, but saying under her breath, "Come on, big boy. Do all the different dirty things to me you ever wanted to do." Could that be so? Darling, croons my cock, let me just begin to list the many different dirty things she would like you to start off with. She wants you to take her hard little shiksa titties in your hands, for one. She does. She wants you to finger fuck her shiksa cunt till she faints. Oh, God, till she faints? This is an opportunity such as may never occur again, so long as you live. Uh-huh. But that's the point. How long is that likely to be? The driver's name is all X's and Y's. If my father is right, these Polish people are direct descendants from the ox. But who wins an argument with a hard-on? Wenn der Put steht, liegt der Sechel in der Red. Know that famous proverb? When the prick stands up, the brains get buried in the ground. When the prick stands up, the brains are as good as dead. And 'tis so. Up it jumps, a dog through a hoop, right into the bracelet of middle finger, index finger, and thumb that I have provided for the occasion. A 3-finger hand job with staccato half-inch strokes up from the base. This will be best for a bus. This will, hopefully, cause my Zeeland jacket to do a minimal amount of hopping and jumping around. To be sure, such a technique means foregoing the sensitive tip, but that much of life is sacrifice and self-control is a fact that even a sex fiend cannot afford to be blind to. The 3-finger hand job is what I've devised for jerking off in public places. Already, I've employed it at the Empire Burlesque House in downtown Newark. One Sunday morning, following the example of Smolker, my Tom Sawyer, I leave the house for the schoolyard, whistling and carrying a baseball glove. And when no one's looking, obviously a state of affairs I hardly believe in, I jump aboard an empty 14 bus and crouch in my seat the length of the journey. You can just imagine the crowd outside the burlesque house on a Sunday morning. Downtown Newark is as empty of life and movement as the Sahara, except for those outside the Empire who look like the crew off a ship stricken with scurvy. Am I crazy to be going in there? God only knows what kind of disease I'm going to pick up off those seats. Go in anyway. Fuck the disease, says the maniac who speaks into the microphone of my jockey shorts. Don't you understand what you're going to see inside there? A woman's snatch. A snatch. The whole thing. Right. All hot and dripping and ready to go. But I'll come down with a sieve from just touching the ticket. I'll pick it up on the bottom of my sneaks and track it into my own house. Some nut will go berserk and stab me to death for the Trojan in my wallet. What if the cops come, waving pistols, and somebody runs and they shoot me by mistake? Because I'm underage. What if I get killed? Or even worse, arrested? What about my parents? Look, Do you want to see a cunt, or don't you want to see a cunt? I want to. I want to. They have a whore in there, kid, who fucks the curtain with her bare twat. Okay, I'll risk the sif. I'll risk having my brain curdle and spending the rest of my days in an insane asylum playing handball with my own shit. Only what about my picture in the Newark Evening News? When the cops throw on the lights and cry, "Okay, freaks, this is a raid," what if the flashbulbs go off and get me? Me! Already president of the International Relations Club in my second year of high school. Me, who skipped 2 grades of grammar school. Why, in 1946, because they wouldn't let Marian Anderson sing in Convention Hall, I led my entire 8th grade class in refusing to participate in the annual patriotic essay contest sponsored by the DAR. I was, and still am, the 12-year-old boy who, in honor of his courageous stand against bigotry and hatred, was invited to the Essex House in Newark to attend the convention of the CIO Political Action Committee, to mount the platform and to shake the hand of Dr. Frank Kingdon, the renowned columnist whom I read every day in PM. How can I be contemplating going into a burlesque house with all these degenerates to see some 60-year-old lady pretend to make love to a hunk of asbestos when on the stage of the Essex House Ballroom, Dr. Frank Kingdon himself took my hand, and while the whole PAC rose to applaud my opposition to the DAR, Dr. Kingdon said to me, "Young man, you're going to see democracy in action here this morning." And with my brother-in-law-to-be, Morty Fibish, I have already attended meetings of the American Veterans Committee. I've helped Morty, who is membership chairman, set up the bridge chairs for a chapter meeting. I've read Citizen Tom Paine by Howard Fast. I've read Bellamy's Looking Backward and Finley Wren by Philip Riley. With my sister and Morty, I've listened to the record of marching songs by the gallant Red Army Chorus. Rankin and Bilbo and Martin Dyes, Gerald L.K. Smith and Father Coughlin, all those fascist sons of a bitches are my mortal enemies. So what in God's name am I doing in a side seat at the burlesque house, jerking off into the pocket of my fielder's glove? What if there's violence? What if there's germs? Yes, only what if later, after the show, that one over there with the enormous boobies, what if, in 60 seconds, I've imagined a full and wonderful life of utter degradation that we lead together on a chenille spread in a shabby hotel room. Me, the enemy of America First, and the real McCoy, which is the name I attach to the sluttiest-looking slut in the chorus line. And what a life it is, too, under our bare bulb. Hotel flashing just outside our window. She pushes Drake's Daredevil cupcakes, chocolate with a white creamy center, down over my cock and then eats them off of me flake by flake. She pours maple syrup out of the log cabin can and then licks it from my tender balls until they're clean again as a little baby boy's. Her favorite line of English prose is a masterpiece. Fuck my pussy, fuckface till I faint. When I fart in the bathtub, she kneels naked on the tile floor, leans all the way over and kisses the bubbles. She sits on my cock while I take a shit, plunging into my mouth a nipple the size of a Toll House cookie, and all the while whispering every filthy word she knows viciously in my ear. She puts ice cubes in her mouth until her tongue and lips are freezing, and then sucks me off. Then switches to hot tea. Everything I have ever thought of, she has thought of too, and will do. The biggest whore rhymes in Newark with poor there ever was. And she's mine. Oh, Theriel, I'm coming, you fucking whore. And so become the only person ever to ejaculate into the pocket of a baseball mitt at the Empire Burlesque House in Newark. Maybe. The big thing at the Empire is hats. Down the aisle from me, a fellow addict, 50 years my senior, is dropping his load in his hat. His hat, doctor. I'm sick. I want to cry. Not into your hat, you schwanz. You got to put that thing on your head. You got to put it on now and go back outside and walk around downtown Newark, dripping jism down your forehead. How will you eat your lunch in that hat? What misery descends upon me as the last drop dribbles into my mitt. The depression is overwhelming. Even my cock is ashamed and doesn't give me a single word of back talk as I start from the burlesque house, chastising myself ruthlessly, moaning aloud, "Oh, no, no." Not unlike a man who has just felt his soul skid through a pile of dog turds. Sole of his shoe. But take the pun. Who cares? Who cares? Ugh. Disgusting. Into his hat, for Christ's sakes. Wenn der Putsch steht, wenn der Putsch steht. Into the hat that he wears on his head. I suddenly remember how my mother taught me to piss standing up. Okay, listen. This may well be the piece of information we've been waiting for. The key to what determined my character. What causes me to be living in this predicament. Torn by desires that are repugnant to my conscience, and a conscience repugnant to my desires. Here is how I learned to pee into the bowl like a big man. Just listen to this. I stand over the circle of water, my baby's weenie jutting cutely forth, while my mama sits beside the toilet on the rim of the bathtub, one hand controlling the tap of the tub, from which a trickle runs that I'm supposed to imitate, and her other hand tickling the underside of my prick. I repeat, tickling my prickling. I guess she thinks that's how to get stuff to come out of the front of that thing, and let me tell you, the lady is right. Make a nice sis, bubbler. Make a nice little sissy for mommy, sings mommy to me. While in actuality, what I'm standing there making with a hand on my prong is, in all probability, my future. Imagine the ludicrousness. A man's character is being forged. A destiny is being shaped. Okay, maybe not. At any rate, for what the information is worth, in the presence of another man, I simply cannot draw my water. To this very day. My bladder may be distended to watermelon proportions, but interrupted by another presence before the stream has begun. You want to hear everything? Okay, I'm telling everything. Which is that in Rome, doctor, the monkey and I picked up a common whore in the street and took her back to bed with us. Well, now, that's out. Seems to have taken me some time. The bus. What intervened on the bus to prevent me from coming all over the sleeping Schicks's arm? I don't know. Common sense, you think? Common decency? My right mind, as they say, coming to the fore? But where is this right mind? On that afternoon, I came home from school to find my mother out of the house and our refrigerator stocked with a big purplish piece of raw liver. I believe that I've already confessed to the piece of liver that I bought in a butcher shop and banged behind a billboard on the way to a bar mitzvah lesson. Well, I wish to make a clean breast of it, Your Holiness. It wasn't my first piece. My first piece I had in the privacy of my own home, rolled round my cock in the bathroom at 3:30, and then had again on the end of a fork at 5:30, along with the other members of that poor, innocent family of mine. So, now you know the worst thing I've ever done. I fucked my own family's dinner. Unless you share with the monkey her contention that the most heinous crime of my career was abandoning her in Greece. Second most heinous, leading her into that triumvirate in Rome. In her estimation, some estimation that, I'm solely responsible for making that ménage, because mine is the stronger and more moral nature. The great humanitarian, she cries, the only one whose job it is to protect the poor, poor people against the landlords. You, who gave me that U.S. aid to read. You're why I got the application blank to Hunter. You're why I'm killing myself to be something more than just somebody's dumb and stupid piece of ass. And now, you want to treat me like I'm nothing but just some hump to use? Use for every kinky, weirdo thing you want to do? And like you're supposed to be the superior intellectual who goes on educational fucking television? You see, in this monkey's estimation, it was my mission to pull her up from those very abysses of frivolity and waste, of perversity and wildness and lust, into which I myself had been so vainly trying all my life successfully to sink, I'm supposed to rescue her from those very temptations I've been struggling all these years to yield to. And it's of no consequence to her whatsoever that in bed she herself has been fantasizing about this arrangement no less feverishly than I have. Doctor, I ask you, who was it that made the suggestion in the first place? Since the night we met, just who has been tempting whom with the prospect of yet another woman in our bed? Believe me, I'm not trying to slither out of my slime. I am trying to slither into it. But it must be made absolutely clear to you and me, if not to her, that this hopelessly neurotic woman, this pathetic, screwy, hillbilly cunt, is hardly what could be called my victim. I simply will not bend to that victim shit. Now she's 30, wants to be married and a mother, wants to be respectable and live in a house with a husband, particularly as the high-paying years of her glamorous career appear to be just about over. But it does not follow that just because she imagines herself victimized and deprived and exploited, and may even be taking a long view of her life, that I am the one upon whom they're going to pin the rap. I didn't make her 30 years old and single. I did not take her from the coalfields of West Virginia and make her my personal charge, and I did not put her in bed with that streetwalker either. The fact is that it was the monkey herself, speaking her high-fashion Italian, who leaned out of our rented car and explained to the whore what it was we wanted and how much we were willing to pay. I simply sat there behind the wheel, one foot on the gas pedal, like the getaway driver that I am, and believe me, when that whore climbed into the back seat, I thought, no. And at the hotel, where we managed to send her up alone to our room by way of the bar, I thought, no, again, no, 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 no. She wasn't bad-looking, this whore, sort of round and dumpy, but in her early 20s and with a big, pleasant, open face, and just stupendous tits. Those were what we picked her out for, after driving slowly up and down the Via Veneto examining the merchandise on parade. The whore, whose name was Lena, took her dress off standing in the middle of the room. Underneath, she wore a Merry Widow corset, from which the breasts bubbled up at one end, and the more than ample thighs rippled out at the other. I was astonished by the garment and its theatricality, but then I was astonished by everything, above all, that we had gone ahead after all these months of talking and finally done it. The monkey came out of the bathroom in her short chemise, ordinarily a sight that made me very hot, that cream-colored silk chemise with a beautiful monkey in it. And I, meanwhile, took off all my clothes and sat naked at the foot of the bed. That Lena spoke not a word of English only intensified the feeling that began to ebb and flow between the monkey and myself, a kind of restrained sadism. We could speak to one another, exchange secrets and plans without the whore's understanding, as she and the monkey could whisper in Italian without my knowledge of what they might be saying or plotting. Lena spoke first, and the monkey turned to translate. She says, "You have a big one." I'll bet she says that to all the boys. Then they stood there in their underwear looking my way, waiting. But so was I waiting too, and was my heart pounding. It had come to pass. 2 women and me. So now what happens? Still, you see, I'm saying to myself, no. She wants to know, said the monkey, after Lena had spoken a second time, where the signore would like her to begin. The signore, said I, wishes her to begin at the beginning. Oh, very witty, that reply. Very nonchalant indeed. Only we continued to sit there motionless, me and my heart-on, all undressed and no place to go. Finally, it's the monkey who sets our lust in motion. She moves across to Lena, above whom she towers. Oh, God, isn't she enough? Isn't she really sufficient for my needs? How many cocks have I got? And puts her hand between the whore's legs. We had imagined it beforehand in all its possibilities, dreamed it all out loud for many, many months now, and yet I am dumbstruck at the sight of the monkey's middle finger disappearing up into Lena's cunt. I can best describe the state I subsequently entered as one of unrelieved busyness. Boy, was I busy. I mean, there was just so much to do. You go here and I'll go there. Okay, now you go here and I'll go there. All right, now she goes down that way while I head up this way, and you sort of have turn around on this. And so it went, Doctor, until I came my third and final time. The monkey was by then the one with her back on the bed, and I the one with my ass to the chandelier. And the cameras, I fleetingly thought. And in the middle, feeding her tits into my monkey's mouth, was our whore. Into whose hole, into what sort of hole I deposited my final load is entirely a matter for conjecture. It could be that in the end I wound up fucking some dank, odoriferous combination of sopping Italian pubic hair, greasy American buttock, and absolutely rank bedsheet. Then I got up, went into the bathroom, and, you'll all be happy to know, regurgitated my dinner. My kishkas. Mother threw them right up into the toilet bowl. Isn't that a good boy? When I came out of the bathroom, the monkey and Lena were lying asleep in one another's arms. The monkey's pathetic weeping, the recriminations and the accusations began immediately after Lena had dressed and departed. I had delivered her into evil. Me? You're the one who stuck your finger up her snatch and got the ball rolling. You kissed her on the fucking lips. Because, she screamed, if I am going to do something, then, I do it. But that doesn't mean I want to. And then, Doctor, she began to berate me about Lena's tits. How I hadn't played with them enough. All you ever talk about and think about is tits. Other people's tits. Mine are so small and everybody else's in the world, you see, are so huge, so you finally get a pair that are tremendous. And what do? Nothing. Nothing is an exaggeration, monkey. The fact of the matter is that I couldn't always fight my way past you. I'm not a lesbian. Don't you dare call me a lesbian, because if I am, you made me one. Oh, Jesus, no. I did it for you, yes. And now you hate me for it. Then we won't do it again. For me, all right? Not if this is the fucking ridiculous result. Except the next night, we got each other very steamed up at dinner, as in the early days of our courtship. The monkey retired at one point to the ladies' room at Ranieri's and returned to the table with a finger redolent of pussy, which I held beneath my nose to sniff and kiss at till the main dish arrived. And after a couple of brandies at Doney's, accosted Lena once again at her station and took her with us to the hotel for round two. Only this time, I relieved Lena of her undergarments myself and mounted her even before the monkey had come back into the bedroom from the John. If I'm going to do it, I thought, I'm going to do it. All the way, everything, and no vomiting either. You're not in Weequahic High School anymore. You're nowhere near New Jersey. When the monkey stepped out of the bathroom and saw that the ball game was already underway, she wasn't entirely pleased. She sat down on the edge of the bed, her little features smaller than I had ever seen them, and declining an invitation to participate, silently watched until I had had my orgasm and Lena had finished faking hers. Obligingly then, sweetly really, Lena made for between my mistress's long legs, but the monkey pushed her away and went off to sit and sulk in a chair by the window. So Lena, not a person overly sensitive to interpersonal struggle, lay back on the pillow beside me and began to tell us all about herself. The bane of existence was the abortions. She was the mother of one child, a boy, with whom she lived on Monte Mario, in a beautiful new building, the monkey translated. Unfortunately, she couldn't manage in her situation any more than one, though she loved children and so was always in and out of the abortionist's office. Her only precautionary device seemed to be a spermicidal douche of no great reliability. I couldn't believe that she had never heard of either the diaphragm or the birth control pill. I told the monkey to explain to her about modern means of contraception that she could surely avail herself of, probably with only a little ingenuity. I got from my mistress a very wry look. The whore listened, but was skeptical. It distressed me considerably that she could be so ignorant about a matter pertaining to her own well-being. There on the bed with her fingers wandering around in my damp pubic hair. That fucking Catholic Church, I thought. So, when she left us that night, she had not only 15,000 of my lira in her handbag, but a month's supply of the monkeys and Ovid that I had given her. "Oh, you're some savior," the monkey shouted after Lena had left. What do you want her to do? Get knocked up every other week? What sense does that make? Why do I care what happens to her? Said the monkey, her voice turning rural and mean. She's the whore. And all you really wanted to do was to fuck her. You couldn't even wait until I was out of the John to do it, and then you gave her my pills. And what's that mean, huh? What exactly are you trying to say? You know, one of the things you don't always display, monkey, is a talent for reason. A talent for frankness? Yes. For reason? No. Then leave me. You got what you wanted? Leave. Maybe I will. To you, I'm just another her anyway. You, with all your big words and big shit-holy ideals, and all I am in your eyes is just a cunt. And a lesbian and a whore. Skip the fight. It's boring. Sunday. We emerge from the elevator, and who should be coming through the front door of the hotel but our Lena? And with her child of about 7 or 8, a fat little boy made out of alabaster, dressed all in ruffles and velvet and patent leather. Lena's hair is down, and her dark eyes, fresh from church, have a familiarly Italian mournful expression. A nice-looking person, really. A sweet person. I can't get over this. And she has come to show off her bambino. Well, so it looks. Pointing to the little boy, she whispers to the monkey, "Molto elegante, no?" But then she follows us out to our car, and while the child's preoccupied with the doorman's uniform, suggests that maybe we would like to come to her apartment on Monte Mario this afternoon, and all of us do it with another man. She has a friend, she says. Mind you, I get all this through my translator. She has a friend who she is sure, she says, would like to fuck the signorina. I can see the tears sliding out from beneath the monkey's dark glasses, even as she says to me, "Well, what do I tell her? Yes or no?" No, of course, positively not. The monkey exchanges some words with Lena and then turns to me once again. She says it wouldn't be for money. It would just be for... No. All the way to the Villa Adriana she weeps. I want a child too, and a home, and a husband. I'm not a lesbian. I'm not a whore. She reminds me of the evening the previous spring when I took her up to the Bronx with me, to what we at the HO Commission call Equal Opportunity Night. All those poor Puerto Rican people being overcharged in the supermarket. In Spanish you spoke, and oh, I was so impressed. Tell me about your bad sanitation. Tell me about your rats and vermin. Tell me about your police protection. Because discrimination is against the law. A year in prison or a $500 fine, and that poor Puerto Rican man stood up and shouted, "Both!" Oh, you fake Alex. You hypocrite and phony. Big shit to a bunch of stupid spics, but I know the truth. Alex, you make women sleep with whores. I don't make anybody do anything they don't want to do. Human opportunities. Human. How you love that word. But you know what it means, you son of a bitch pimp? I'll teach you what it means. Pull this car over, Alex. Sorry, no. Yes, because I'm getting out. I'm finding a phone. I'm going to call long distance to John Lindsay and tell him what you made me do. The fuck you will. I'll expose you, Alex. I'll call Jimmy Breslin. Then, in Athens, she threatens to jump from the balcony unless I marry her. So I leave. Shixes. In winter, when the polio germs are hibernating and I can bank upon surviving outside of an iron lung until the end of the school year, I ice skate on the lake in Irvington Park. In the last light of the weekday afternoons, then all day long on crisply shining Saturdays and Sundays, I skate round and round in circles behind the Shixes who live in Irvington, the town across the city line from the streets and houses of my safe and friendly Jewish quarter. I know where the Shixes live from the kinds of curtains their mothers hang in the windows. Also, the Goyim hang a little white cloth with a star in the front window in honor of themselves and their boys away in the service. A blue star if the son is living, a gold star if he's dead. A gold star mom, says Ralph Edwards, solemnly introducing a contestant on Truth or Consequences, who in just 2 minutes is going to get a bottle of seltzer squirted at her snatch, followed by a brand new refrigerator for her kitchen. A Gold Star mom is what my Aunt Clara upstairs is too, except here's the difference. She has no gold star in her window, for a dead son doesn't leave her feeling proud or noble or feeling anything for that matter. It seems instead to have turned her, in my father's words, into a nervous case for life. Not a day has passed since she was killed in the Normandy invasion that Aunt Clara has not spent most of it in bed and sobbing so badly that Dr. Izzy has sometimes to come and give her a shot to calm her hysteria down. But the curtains. The curtains are embroidered with lace or fancy in some other way that my mother describes derisively as Goyish taste. At Christmas time, when I have no school and can go off to ice skate at night under the lights, I see the trees blinking on and off behind the Gentile curtains. Not on our block, God forbid, or on Leslie Street, or Schley Street, or even Fabian Place, but as I approach the Irvington line, here's a goy, and there's a goy, and there's still another, and then I'm into Irvington, and it's simply awful. Not only is there a tree conspicuously ablaze in every parlor, but the houses themselves are outlined with colored bulbs advertising Christianity. And phonographs are pumping Silent Night out into the street as though it were the national anthem. And on the snowy lawns are set up little cutout models of the scene in the manger. Really, it's enough to make you sick. How can they possibly believe this shit? Not just children, but grown-ups too, stand around on the snowy lawns, smiling down at pieces of wood 6 inches high that are called Mary and Joseph and little Jesus. And the little cutout cows and horses are smiling too. God, the idiocy of the Jews all year long, then the idiocy of the Goyim on these holidays. What a country. Is it any wonder we're all of us half-nuts? But the Shickses, the Shickses are something else again. Between the smell of damp sawdust and wet wool in the overheated boathouse, and the sight of their fresh, cold blonde hair spilling out of their kerchiefs and caps, I am ecstatic. Amidst these flushed and giggling girls, I lace up my skates with weak, trembling fingers, and then, out into the cold and after them, I move. Down the wooden gangplank on my toes, and off into the ice behind a fluttering covey of them. A nosegay of Shickses, a garland of Gentile girls. I am so awed that I am in a state of desire beyond a hard-on. My circumcised little dong is simply shriveled up with veneration. Maybe it's dread. How do they get so gorgeous, so healthy, so blonde? My contempt for what they believe in is more than neutralized by my adoration of the way they look, the way they move and laugh and speak, the lives they must lead behind those Goyish curtains. Maybe a pride of Shickses is more like it, or is it a pride of Shkotzim? For these are the girls whose older brothers are the engaging, good-natured, confident, clean, swift, and powerful halfbacks for the college football teams called Northwestern and Texas Christian and UCLA. Their fathers are men with white hair and deep voices who never use double negatives, and their mothers, the ladies with the kindly smiles and the wonderful manners who say things like, "I do believe, Mary, that we sold 35 cakes at the bake sale." "Don't be too late, dear," they sing out sweetly to their little tulips as they go bouncing off in their bouffant taffeta dresses to the junior prom with boys whose names are right out of the grade school reader. Not Aaron and Arnold and Marvin, but Johnny and Billy and Jimmy and Todd. Not Portnoy or Pincus, but Smith and Jones and Brown. These people are the Americans, Doctor. Like Henry Aldrich and Homer, like the great Gildersleeve and his nephew Leroy, like Corliss and Veronica, like Oogie Pringle, who gets to sing beneath Jane Powell's window in A Date with Judy. These are the people for whom Nat King Cole sings every Christmas time. Chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Jack Frost nipping at your nose. An open fire. In my house? No. Theirs are the noses whereof he speaks. Not his flat black one, or my long bumpy one, but those tiny, bridgeless wonders whose nostrils point northward automatically at birth and stay that way for life. These are the children from the coloring books come to life. The children they mean on the signs we pass in Union, New Jersey that say, "Children at play," and "Drive carefully, we love our children." These are the girls and boys who live next door. The kids who are always asking for the jalopy and getting into jams, and then out of them again in time for the final commercial. The kids whose neighbors aren't the Silversteins and the Landows, but Fibber McGee and Molly, and Ozzie and Harriet and Ethel and Albert, and Lorenzo Jones and his wife Belle, and Jack Armstrong. Jack Armstrong, the all-American guy, and Jack as in John, not Jack as in Jake, like my father. Look, we ate our meals with that radio blaring away right through to the dessert. The glow of the yellow station band is the last light I see each night before sleep. So don't tell me we're just as good as anybody else. Don't tell me we're Americans just like they are. No, no. These blonde-haired Christians are the legitimate residents and owners of this place, and they can pump any song they want to into the streets, and no one is going to stop them either. Oh, America, America. It may have been gold in the streets to my grandparents. It may have been a chicken in every pot to my father and mother, but to me, a child whose earliest movie memories are of Anne Rutherford and Alice Faye, America is a shiksa nestling under your arm whispering, love, 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 love. So, dusk on the frozen lake of a city park, skating behind the puffy red earmuffs and the fluttering yellow ringlets of a strange shiksa teaches me the meaning of the word longing. It's almost more than an angry 13-year-old little Jewish mama's boy can bear. Forgive the luxuriating, but these are probably the most poignant hours of my life I'm talking about. I learned the meaning of the word longing. I learned the meaning of the word pang. There go the darling things dashing up the embankment, clattering along the shoveled walk between the evergreens. And so, here I go too, if I dare. The sun is almost all the way down and everything is purple, including my prose, as I follow at a safe distance until they cross the street on their skates and go giggling into the little parkside candy store. By the time I get up the nerve to come through the door, every eye will surely be upon me. They've already loosened their mufflers and unzipped their jackets and are raising cups of hot chocolate between their smooth and burning cheeks. And those noses, mystery of mysteries, each disappears entirely into a cupful of chocolate and marshmallows and comes out at the other end, unblemished by liquid. Jesus, look how guiltlessly they eat between meals. What girls! Crazily, impetuously, I order a cup of chocolate myself and proceed to ruin my appetite for dinner, served promptly by my jumping jack mother at 5:30 when my father walks into the house, starved. Then I follow them back to the lake. Then I follow them around the lake. Then, at last, my ecstasy is over. They go home to the grammatical fathers and the composed mothers and the self-assured brothers who all live with them in harmony and bliss behind their goyish curtains. And I start back to Newark, to my palpitating life with my family, live now behind the aluminum Venetians for which my mother's been saving out of her table money for years. What a rise in social class we've made with those blinds. Headlong, my mother seems to feel we have been catapulted into high society. A good part of her life is now given over to the dusting and polishing of the slats of the blinds. She's behind them wiping away during the day, and at dusk looks out from between her clean slats at the snow, where it's begun to fall through the light of the street lamp, and begins pumping up the worry machine. It's usually only a matter of minutes before she's appropriately frantic. "Where is he already?" she moans each time a pair of headlights come sweeping up the street and are not his. Where, oh where, are Odysseus? Upstairs, Uncle Jaime is home. Across the street, Landau is home. Next door, Silverstein's home. Everybody is home by 5:45, except my father. and the radio says that a blizzard is already bearing down on Newark from the North Pole. Well, there's just no doubt about it. We might as well call Tuckerman and Farber about the funeral arrangements and start inviting the guests. Yes, it needs only for the roads to begin to glisten with ice for the assumption to be made that my father, 15 minutes late for dinner, is crunched up against a telegraph pole somewhere, lying dead in a pool of his own blood. My mother comes into the kitchen, her face by now a face out of El Greco. "My 2 starving Armenians," she says in a breaking voice. "Eat. Go ahead, darling, start. There's no sense waiting." And who wouldn't be grief-struck? Just think of the years to come. Her 2 babies without a father, herself without a husband and provider, all because out of nowhere, just as that poor man was starting home, it had to begin to snow. Meanwhile, I wonder if, with my father dead, I'll have to get a job after school and Saturdays and consequently give up skating at Irvington Park, give up skating with my shikses before I have even spoken a single word to one of them. I'm afraid to open my mouth for fear that if I do, no words will come out, or the wrong words. Portnoy? Yes, it's an old French name. A corruption of Portnoy, meaning black door or gate. Apparently in the Middle Ages in France, the door to our family manor house was painted, etc., and so forth. No. They will hear the oi at the end and the jig will be up. Al Port, then. Al Parsons. "How do you do, Miss McCoy? Mind if I skate alongside?" My name is Al Parsons. But isn't Alan as Jewish and foreign as Alexander? I know there's Alan Ladd, but there's also my friend Alan Rubin, the shortstop for our softball team. And wait till she hears him from Weequake. Oh, what's the difference anyway? I can lie about my name, I can lie about my school, but how am I going to lie about this fucking nose? "You seem like a very nice person, Mr. Portnoy, but why do you go around covering the middle of your face like that?" Because suddenly it's taken off the middle of my face, because gone is the button of my childhood years, that pretty little thing that people used to look at in my carriage, and lo and behold, the middle of my face has begun to reach out toward God. Portnoy and Parsons, my ass kid, you have got J-E-W written right across the middle of that face. Look at the schnoz on him, for God's sakes. That ain't a nose, it's a hose. Screw off, Jew boy. Get off the ice and leave these girls alone. And it's true. I lower my head to the kitchen table and on a piece of my father's office stationery, outline my profile with a pencil. And it is terrible. How has this happened to me, who was so gorgeous in that carriage, Mother? At the top, it's begun to aim toward the heavens, while simultaneously, where the cartilage ends halfway down the slope, it's beginning to bend back toward my mouth. A couple of years, and I won't even be able to eat. This thing will be directly in the path of the food. No. Can't be. I go into the bathroom and stand before the mirror. I press the nostrils upward with 2 fingers. From the side, it's not too bad either, but in front, where my upper lip used to be, there's now just teeth and gum. Some goy, I look like Bugs Bunny. I cut pieces from the cardboard that comes back in the shirts from the laundry and scotch-taped them to either side of my nose, thus restoring in profile the nice upward curve that I sported all through my childhood, but which is now gone. It actually seems that this sprouting of my beak dates exactly from the time that I discovered the shiksa skating in Irvington Park, as though my own nose bone has taken it upon itself to act as my parents' agent. Skating with shiksas? Just you try it, wise guy. Remember Pinocchio? Well, that's nothing compared with what's going to happen to you. They'll laugh and laugh, howl and hoot, and worse, calling you Goldberg in the bargain, send you on your way roasting with fury and resentment. What do you think they're always giggling about as it is? You, the skinny yid, and his schnoz following them around the ice every single afternoon. And can't talk. Please, will you stop playing with your nose, my mother says. I'm not interested, Alex, in what's growing up inside there, not at dinner. But it's too big. What? What's too big, says my father. My nose, I scream. Please, it gives you character, my mother says, so leave it alone. But who wants character? I want the real McCoy. In her blue parka and her red earmuffs and her big white mittens. Miss America on blades. With her mistletoe and her plum pudding, whatever that may be, and her one family house with a banister and a staircase, and parents who are tranquil and patient and dignified. And also her brother Billy, who knows how to take motors apart and says, much obliged, and isn't afraid of anything physical. And oh, the way she'll cuddle next to me on the sofa in her Angora sweater with her legs pulled back up beneath her tartan skirt, and the way she'll turn at the doorway and say to me, and thank you ever so much for a wonderful, wonderful evening. And then this amazing creature, to whom no one has ever said, Sha, or I only hope your children will do the same to you someday, this perfect, perfect stranger, who is as smooth and shiny and cool as custard, will kiss me, raising up one shapely calf behind her, and my nose and my name will have become as nothing. Look, I'm not asking for the world. I just don't see why I should get any less out of life than some schmuck like Oogie Pringle or Henry Aldrich. I want Jane Powell, too. God damn it. And Corliss and Veronica. I, too, want to be the boyfriend of Debbie Reynolds. It's the Eddie Fisher in me coming out, that's all. The longing in all us swarthy Jew boys for those bland, blonde exotics called shikses. Only what I don't know yet in these feverish years is that for every Eddie yearning for Debbie, there's a Debbie yearning for an Eddie. A Marilyn Monroe yearning for her Arthur Miller. Even an Alice Faye yearning for Phil Harris. Even Jane Mansfield was about to marry one, remember? When she was suddenly killed in a car crash? Who knew, you see, who knew back when we were watching National Velvet that this stupendous purple-eyed girl who had the supreme goyish gift of all, the courage and know-how to get up and ride around on a horse, as opposed to having one pull your wagon like the rag seller for whom I'm named, who would have believed that this girl, on the horse with the riding breeches and the perfect enunciation, was lusting for our kind no less than we for hers? Because you know what Mike Todd was. A cheap facsimile of my Uncle Jaime upstairs. And who in his right mind would ever have believed that Elizabeth Taylor had the hots for Uncle Jaime? Who knew that the secret to a Schicks's heart and box was not to pretend to be some hook-nosed variety of goy, as boring and vacuous as her own brother, but to be what one's uncle was, to be what one's father was, to be whatever one was oneself, instead of doing some pathetic little Jewish imitation of one of those half-dead, ice-cold Shagets pricks, Jimmy or Johnny or Todd, who look, who think, who feel, who talk like fighter bomber pilots. Look at the monkey, my old pal and partner in crime. Doctor, just saying her name, just bringing her to mind, gives me a hard-on on the spot. But I know I shouldn't call her or see her ever again, because the bitch is crazy. The sex-crazed bitch is out of her mind, pure trouble. But what? What was I supposed to be but her Jewish savior? The knight on the big white steed. The fellow in the shining armor the little girls used to dream would come to rescue them from the castles in which they were always imagining themselves to be imprisoned. Well, as far as a certain school of shiks is concerned, of whom the monkey is a gorgeous example, this knight turns out to be none other than a brainy, balding, beaky Jew with a strong social conscience and black hair on his balls, who neither drinks nor gambles, nor keeps showgirls on the side. A man guaranteed to give them kiddies to rear and Kafka to read, a regular domestic messiah. Sure, he may, as a kind of tribute to his rebellious adolescence, say shit and fuck a lot around the house, in front of the children even, but the indisputable and heartwarming fact is that he is always around the house. No bars, No brothels, no racetracks, no backgammon all night long at the racket club, about which she knows from her stylish past, or beer till all hours down at the American Legion, which she can remember from her mean and squalid youth. No, 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 indeed. What we have before us, ladies and gentlemen, direct from a long record-breaking engagement with his own family, is a Jewish boy just dying in his every cell to be good, responsible, and dutiful to a family of his own. The same people who brought you Harry Goldens for 2 cents plain bring you now the Alexander Portnoy Show. If you liked Arthur Miller as a savior of shiksas, you'll just love Alex. You see, my background was in every way that was crucial to the monkey, the very opposite of what she had had to endure 18 miles south of Wheeling in a coal town called Moundsville, while I was up in New Jersey drowning in schmaltz. Lolling in Jewish warmth, as the monkey would have it, she was down in West Virginia, virtually freezing to death. Nothing but chattel, really, to a father who was, as she describes him, himself little more than first cousin to a mule, and some kind of incomprehensible bundle of needs to a mother who was as well-meaning as it was possible to be if you were a hillbilly 1 generation removed from the Alleghenies. A woman who could neither read, nor write, nor count all that high, and to top things off, hadn't a single molar in her head. A story of the monkeys which made a strong impression on me. Not that all her stories didn't compel this particular neurotic's attention, with their themes of cruelty, ignorance, and exploitation. Once, when she was 11, and against her father's will had sneaked off on a Saturday to a ballet class given by the local artiste called Mr. Maurice, the old man came after her with a belt, beat her with it around the ankles all the way home, and then locked her in the closet for the rest of the day, and with her feet tied together for good measure. Catch you down by that queer again, and won't just tie 'em up. I'll do more on that, don't you worry. When she arrived in New York, she was 18 and hadn't any back teeth to speak of either. They'd all been extracted, for a reason she still can't fathom, by the local Moundsville practitioner, as gifted a dentist as she remembers Mr. Maurice to have been a dancer. When we two met, nearly a year ago now, the monkey had already been through her marriage and her divorce. Her husband had been a 50-year-old French industrialist who had courted and married her 1 week in Florence, where she was modeling in a show at the Pitti Palace. Subsequent to the marriage, his sex life consisted of getting into bed with his young and beautiful bride and jerking off into a copy of a magazine called Garter Belt, which he had flown over to him from 42nd Street. The monkey has at her disposal a kind of dumb, mean, rural twang which she sometimes likes to use and would invariably drop down into when describing the excesses to which she was expected to be a witness as the tycoon's wife. She could be very funny about the 14 months she spent with him, despite the fact that it was probably a grim, if not terrifying, experience. But he had flown her to London after the marriage for $5,000 worth of dental work, and then back in Paris, hung around her neck several $100,000 more in jewelry, and for the longest while, says the monkey, this caused her to feel loyal to him. As she put it, before I forbade her ever again to say like, and man, and swinger, and crazy, and groove, it was like ethics. What caused her finally to run for her life were the little orgies he began to arrange after jerking off into Garter Belt. Or was it spiked heels? Became a bore to both of them. A woman, preferably black, would be engaged for a very high sum to squat naked upon a glass coffee table and take a crap while the tycoon lay flat on his back directly beneath the table and jerked his dong off. And as the shit splattered on the glass 6 inches above her beloved's nose, the monkey, our poor monkey, was expected to sit on the red damask sofa, fully clothed, sipping cognac, and watching.